Going attributeless has been an interesting ride for sure. Relying on data to bring in signings and improve the team has been a big eye-opener. We've unearthed some killer unknown players, and have we finally cracked the big three on a regular basis? Right, so as you can probably tell, we continue. We can't leave it there. We need to consistently break up this big three. And after that 4th place finish last season, I think this team's still got some potential. I was toying with changing formation, and I'm just looking at dropping the winger back in there to make it a bit more solid, even changing the Volante role, but I'm pained to do so because Handel's been so good, another 10 goals, 13 assists, so maybe we should keep him quite aggressive. But to carry this on, we need to look at areas we can improve this team. We've got to be harsh. We've had some good finishes, but we need to get to that next level. So I'm about to go about the job of analysing the squad from last season's performance. But first things first, you might remember that I was a bit disappointed in the performance of Hugo Sousa, but then I looked at it a bit deeper. If you look at his appearances, 41, he's conceded 49, and he did actually get his goalkeeping performance back on track a little bit. When I looked a bit closer, I realised that I wasn't taking into account just his domestic form, also the Europa League, in which we were one of the unfancied teams and we did concede a bucket load. However, in the league, he was far better. And this is where we look into the player performance in a slightly different way, still using these analysing data metrics. Check it out. So come the end of the season, it's still the best time to judge things, but we're going to go up to stats and player overview, and this is where we get the combinations of different aspects of play against the entire league. And this is where we see Hugo Sousa's actual performance was actually pretty good. If you look down here, expected goals prevented per 90 minutes, he's 3rd in the league. He's the 3rd best at it. So despite his overall performance being 0.02, when it comes to the league only, he was actually really good, so I need to bear that in mind when analysing the rest of my squad. For example, it's going to underline how good someone like Foremost Mendy has been. This is him against the centre-backs in the entire league, and you can see how good he was. He's the absolute colossal at winning the ball in the air and winning the ball back. And when I go to this screen, you can see headers won. He is top of the entire league with the most headers won at 228. He's also 3rd when it comes to possession won, so he's absolutely vital for this team. However, this new way of looking at things kind of shows up something that you might not see firsthand from Nuno Santos. On the face of it, and you look at his chart there, attacking midfielder wise, it looks like he's had a pretty good season. 41 appearances, 9 goals, 13 assists, and competitive in terms of his pizza chart. However, when I go to the player overview screen, I can see that his expected goals is underperforming by nearly 5 a match. That isn't great, considering where he plays in the team. Number 10, attacking midfielder, I need a lot more goal output from him, and this tells me that he's not doing that job. So this got me thinking about how my other attacking players are shaping up, Mosquera and Ronnie Lopez. So this took me to key passes, and I was delighted to see Mosquera 2nd place in the entire league. So I knew he'd had a good season. He expected assists at 0.38. He's doing really well, but that amount of key passes from a player playing out wide and not one of the playmakers in the middle is outstanding. And his value now is 8.4 to 9.4 million, which means we've got a 20x return on him from the 500,000 we spent, which makes signing these players from statistics even more rewarding. And Mendy, remember, signed for 800,000. He's now 10x because his value is up to 13 to 14 million. So having looked at these statistics and the overall performance of the season, I know that Mosquera is very much staying, as is Mendy. However, Santos, despite what looks like a decent season on the face of things, is probably one of those who will finally be getting replaced. So we take him out of his position. With striker Poveda now 31, it may be finally the time to look at replacing him, despite him having a pretty good season. So back to the screen of overall performance of players again, this might help me plan a replacement for him. If we go to the attacking section down here, we can start with conversion rate. And here we have the most lethal players in terms of goals per shots in the league. Next, I looked at expected goals over performance, and there was a couple of players here that featured again. Finally, I looked at average minutes per goal, and my mind was made up when I was going to build my shortlist around a couple of players. One was Mohamed Bayo, striker from Vitor Guimarães, who featured highly in all 3 of those metrics. And the second candidate was Rodrigo Ribeiro, again, high up in all 3 of those previous metrics. However, one thing to bear in mind is Poveda was in those metrics as well, and in some cases higher than those 2 other strikers. So if we can't get those 2, it won't be a disaster for another season of Poveda at 31. And going back to the starting 11, yes, I'm looking for a new attacking midfielder, but honestly, the rest of the players I'm pretty happy with. I talked about the value increase of Mendy and Mosquera, but how about Florian Flick in that defensive midfield slot where he wins the ball back a lot? He's now valued between 13 and 16 million, and we paid 1.7. So there's not a great deal we need to change. And in fact, the subs as well, the immediate subs are pretty good as well. Let me take one for example. This is Boubacar Traore. Comes off the bench. 45 times he came off the bench. But I mean, look at his pizza chart. Granted, he's only doing little bits and pieces here, but when he comes on, he's doing it perfectly. So this could be a season where we generate funds ready for a big assault the next season. So for that, it's good that we don't need a big upheaval in terms of the first 11. Now, as far as the bench goes, these players you see here, subs 1 to subs 9, I'm perfectly happy with them to continue being the backup. To generate more funds, down here we have the players I'm willing to discard. It hasn't really worked out for James McAtee. Nuno Santos, I'm happy to keep him, but I will cash in if the opportunity arises. So as we look to strengthen the squad, the good news is we've been given 10 million transfer budget and a pretty handy wage budget as well. So this has allowed me to build a pretty good shortlist of 12 players that I'm looking to add to the squad. I'm at the point where I need to look at the future as well. So Abraham Abdul is a player of interest. He's got some excellent attributes already at a young age, so he's worth a punt, and I have bid 1.5 million for him. It's a similar story for Wilson Rodriguez, who I've got getting scouted at the minute. His pizza chart hasn't blown me away, but his actual abilities look good. So he's getting scouted, he's a maybe. You'll see the two strikers that we were looking at. Mohamed Bayo is on the shortlist, but his value might mean we can't get him this season. Same story for Rodrigo Ribeiro, but his value is a bit more achievable, but I have put a bid in for Zuriko Davitashvili. Now he's a winger, can play either side, and there's a reason we're going for him. It was another solid season for Ronnie Lopez, but he is now 32 and there were just some signs of a decline. Therefore, this player could be the ideal replacement for him. Not only has he got good expected assists, but his actual abilities for a winger, pretty good. Another option for a winger is the less sexy signing of Kane Richie Hosler. Now he's been on loan at Boa Vista from Sporting, but as you can see, his assists are really good, as are his dribbles, and he puts a lot of pressure on the opposition fullback, which could be a nice little added bonus. The other added bonus is he's pretty damn cheap, so he could be a good option. Now I'm pretty happy with my defensive midfielders, but if one was to leave and get snapped up, Dylan Levitt over in Scotland at Hibernian looks a cracking option. Wins the ball back, doesn't lose it too much, and his expected assists are really good for a defensive midfielder as well. Back from pre-season, I have spent that 10 million budget. The lion's share was spent on Zuriko Davitashvili. I decided to take the punt on the right winger. He cost me 6 million. I also managed to bring in Kane Richie from Sporting for just 300,000. And I did complete that signing of Abraham Abdul, but I'm going to loan him out for the season to see how he does. Now the big signing was Gaetano Orestiano. Not someone who was initially on my radar, but when he popped up, I had to get him. He only cost me 1.3 million after a couple of good seasons with Cagliari. Now he's joined the club, it seems to have woke up Nuno Santos, who started the season really well, but he's going to struggle to hold on to his place as the season gets going. Speaking of the season, we've started superbly. After a good pre-season, we stormed through the Europa League second qualifying round and the third qualifying round, and our first match in the league? Well, it was a 5-0 victory at home, and Ronnie Lopez was telling me that he's not done yet. So I started with the same team from last season, but do expect Orestiano to come in to rival Santos. That slight change at the minute, just dropping one winger back. So it's now the midpoint of the season, the 31st of December, and the good news is we're in every cup. No eliminations yet. We're in the Alliance Cup, the TATO, and in the Europa League we're on the brink of qualifying, having only lost 2 games to Tottenham and Nice, but winning 4. Now as far as the league goes, we're back in our usual position with 4th place, but we're not too far off, 9 points off top and only 3 points off second and third, so looking good, having only lost the 4 matches. So we've actually looked a lot better in Europe than we have in the league. We've been a bit stop-start in the league, a few too many draws and some stupid draws at that. And because we weren't able to get the other striker in, Paveda's started, his return's pretty good, 13 goals in 31, decent little pie chart, but when I look a bit closer down here, he's only scored 3 times in the league, 3 times in 15 matches, so he's definitely on the decline. As expected, Orestiano did force his way into the team, here he is, so he started 14 matches. He started off the bench. I did give Santos a chance because of the way he started, but Orestiano's performances, as you can see, deserved to get in the team. Also in the team is Zuriko. He has displaced Ronnie Lopez through a combination of poor form and injuries mostly for Ronnie. He actually started the season pretty well, scored 8 goals in 12 matches. He does that, he's a great goal scorer, but he keeps getting little injuries now. So Davitashvili comes in, but there's a player I want you to keep an eye on. This is Renato Felipe, is the boy I want you to keep an eye on. So I signed him a couple of seasons back, in fact the second season for free. He's been in the development team, just keeping an eye on him, and I've noticed that his attributes were starting to come up, so we've just given him a bit of game time this season and he's already looking pretty decent. He's had 7 appearances. If you look here, the interesting thing about him is he You can also pay a striker. So keep an eye on him. But we're not doing a lot wrong. I think we're probably where we're at with the team we're able to bring in the summer without that striker that we needed. And Hugo Sousa has proved me wrong. He has turned it on now. Expected goals prevented. He's doing his job. It was the right move to stick with him. So pushing on now till the end of the season. We're going to aim to break up that top 3. We're right in the ballpark. And can we get another trophy in? So first up, the Europa League. A Herculean effort to giant Atalanta. It took an extra time penalty to knock us out. And in the League Cup, we made it all the way to the semi-final, but Porto put paid to our chances. And in the Taça de Portugal, we got knocked out by Casa Pia, meaning no cups. How did the league go? You've got to say overall, it was a good season. A few too many draws, and a final day defeat meant that we dropped to 5th. At one point we were comfortably 3rd. However, there is hope for next season, as Orestiano was superb when he came into the team, as was Zurico, who's shone with expected assists and dribbles. He looks like a quality signing. And Renato Felipe, this could be his breakthrough season, as he bagged in 9 goals and looks pretty lethal in the process. Not to mention his value shooting up to 26 million. Big things for him next season. How we improve on this is going to be a struggle, because next season's transfer budget is going to be around the 6 million mark. With Mendy having another dominating season, it could be that he needs a more defence-focused defensive partner than Thomas Ribeiro, who excels on the ball but not so much in defence. And I've said it before, but this time it looks like Poveda will be leaving us. He had a decent season, he turned it around with 23 goals, but at 32, he wants to return home. So now we're into pre-season. It's a tough one this, because if I look at my scouting, transfer budget, 2 million. How do we improve this team to break that top 3 with such a small transfer budget? So at the minute, I'm pretty happy with the team. There is a couple of areas I want to improve. Now you'll notice I've got Felipe up front. I think he's ready for a breakthrough season after this. 9 goals this season, but when we look at him, when he played striker, 6 in 9, assists 5. He looks lethal. He looks lethal. Orestiano in behind him, and with Mosquero to the left-hand side. And we either move Zurico there or go a bit more aggressive. Not sure yet. But the front 4 look pretty good. Having said that, there are areas we can improve, and I do think it could be time. Although he's a good player, Thomas Ribeiro, I just think he's more of a midfielder at 6'1". He just seems to favour the ball playing side, dribbling, progressive passing. He's great at that, doesn't lose the ball much. When it comes to headers, he's only winning just over half. His tackles are okay, doesn't win the ball a great deal either. So my love-hate thing with Nuno Santos continues. He's 30 now, and he's wanted by a few teams, and I have made the plunge to put him on the transfer list. I just think we can replace him with a younger, more mobile version who will be the one to back up Orestiano. We also have the option, though, of putting Orestiano as a striker. He can play up front. He's done so a couple of times this season with 3 goals in 7, so he could be an option up front as well. Because Felipe is only 19, so I don't expect him to be massively consistent up there. So I've got a good couple of players out on loan as well. Abim Abdul is that player we signed. Going to move him into the first team this season, see what he can do. His value is shot to 14 to 19 million. Not bad for a signing for 1 million. And there's also Miguel Patricio, who is a defensive midfielder. And if you look at his Peter chart this season, doing really well, winning the ball back, lots of tackles, good assists, good backup option. So I've moved both them boys into the squad. You can see them there, sub 10, sub 12, so they will be involved this season going forward. I think to generate money, I need to clear out this clutch of players down here. So these players will be available for transfer. And yes, that does include our boy Dario Poveda, who does want to go back to Spain. But as you can see, we have made a signing. Coming in on a free transfer is Hugo Felix. Now, Hugo Felix was with us early days. He played 6 games, scored 2, and then Benfica grabbed him back. But he hasn't played any football for them, and he's in the B team last season down in Liga 3. But what alerted me to him was his performance in Liga 3 was pretty good. Expected assists are right up there. He's even winning the ball back. I think he's worth a chance, especially when I look at his abilities, all of them in the above average range and some of them in excellent. So he's going to come in as a backup to Orestiano. But in honestly, because of this transfer budget, it's going to be minimal signings, which means the signings of the youngsters a couple of seasons ago now looks even more important. With a month out from the season beginning, you can see how quiet things have been. We've only 2 signings. Hugo Felix, he comes in on that free transfer, and a new centre-back. Now this is Robbie Dees, comes in from Kilmarnock, where he was pretty much the linchpin of their team at centre-back. His abilities are fine, nothing jaw-dropping, but let me take you back to last season when I saw his statistics. So this is Robbie Dees' last season, and as you can see, he hardly lost the ball. He won it back a load, loads of tackles, loads of headers. He could be a more old-school type of defender to partner Mendy. But they were the only 2 signings, and at the minute it's again the same team. with a different strike force of Oristiano and Felipe, but Ribeiro down here, his place is under threat. As we return at the midpoint of the season, things are going pretty well. We've only lost 3 matches, but Benfica and Porto are sailing away from us. However, in the Europa Conference League, undefeated, winning 4, drawing 2. We did just get an amazing away victory to Benfica with their old player Hugo banging in a penalty. And there's a reason I showed you that, because if you remember at the start of the season, I had plans for Oristiano in there and Felipe in there. However, Felipe injured. He's just coming back, so he hasn't been able to play often. When he has played, he's done his job well. Scored 4 times, 4 assists. He's only 20 years old. Oristiano jumped up front and he's done a cracking job. 24 matches, 13 goals. So with him moving up and left a gap for the number 10 slot. And it wasn't Santos who jumped in, it was Hugo Felix, and he has exceeded all expectations. Look at this performance. 27 appearances, scored 14, 12 assists, so he's contributed to a goal nearly every match. If you look at his pizza chart, he's one of the best attacking midfielders in the league. For a free transfer, what a result. So things are going well, but when you look at the player stats screen at the halfway point, headers won, Mendy's doing his job again. Top by an absolute mile. Look at that, 116, his closest competitor is 82. But he's getting let down by his defensive partner, Thomas Ribeiro. Mistakes leading to goal. And when I look at his pizza chart, it's the same old story. He's excelling going forward, doing the ball playing stuff, but pretty poor when it comes to tackling. So I think for the second half of the season, the time is now to give the chance to Robbie Diaz. He hasn't played much, 762 total minutes, but when he has played, he's winning the ball back, he's tackling well. So I'm going to slot him into this slot here, but I'm just going to make him a complete central defender. So we're going a bit more old school at the back to see how that helps. I've also got Flick holding his position more now instead of supporting the attacks. And overall, we've been really good. Just a couple of defeats that have annoyed me, such as this one against Pacos de Ferrara. But currently we have broke up the big 3. We're sat in 3rd. Let's see how the second half of the season goes. So the slight changes to personnel and the little tactic tweaks stormed us through January, winning every match and only losing 1 in February. Despite that, Benfica and Porto have just been too strong, but we have completely solidified 3rd place, 12 points clear of 4th place Braga. Although out of the League Cup, we're very much still in the TATO de Portugal, and in the Europa Conference League, we've got a second leg coming up against Ajax. For this home game against Ajax, we went to our new 4-4-1-1 formation. Having lost the first leg 1-0, we managed to turn it around and win the tie 2-1 on aggregate. Playing mostly as a striker this season, Oristiano has been fantastic with 25 goals. And his backup has been Renato Felipe, who now fit has bagged in 13. A late goal from another youngster, Abdul, sent us into the final of the TASA, and in that one, we will meet Benfica. Semi-final Conference League in an absolute epic of a match. Wouldn't you just know it? It was Dario Poveda with that goal that took it to penalties. And this is where Hugo stepped up. The big man saved 2 penalties, leaving backup Boubacar Traore to smash us into the final. So then here we are. This is the end of the season, the league campaign. Some teams have still got games to go, but we finished in 3rd again. Our joint best finish, but way behind Benfica and Porto. However, we've got the final coming up of the Conference League against Monaco and the final of the TASA against Benfica. We can still have an epic season here. In a few of those away games, specifically to Lazio and Ajax, we went cautious, dropped a couple of players back. Seemed to work. We weren't great, but we got away with it. And Oristiano has now hit 27 goals this season. As far as strikers go, he is right up there. And signing of the season, Hugo Felix, now valued 15 to 16.5. And hero from the semi-final, Hugo Souza. It's good to see that he actually proved us right when we did the scouting on him, on his attributes and his pizza chart for his old club, because now he's performing for us as well. Basically, every player in that team is now worth considerably more for us than when they signed for us. All of them have absolutely shot up in value. And the youngster Felipe, he's only bagged 15 this season, another 15. So all that's left to do now is go to these 2 finals. And my question for you is, if I win one of these 2 or both, is that enough for you? Is that enough to prove we've done our job? In the TATO de Portugal, it was Benfica, and they just had too much for us. They ended up beating us 2-0, disappointing. So then, it was all on the Conference League against Monaco. An unbelievable result topped off by day one of Pastor with the goal of the season. Some achievement, and it's shown as we are ranked the biggest overachievers in the entire competition, and surely the biggest result in the club's history, which means we've finished the season runners-up in the TATO, winning the Conference League and breaking up the Big Three in Portugal. Surely that's job done now, right? Right?